And we're going live in 3, 2, 1.
Breaking news! The color red sees its best day in thousands of years. This 30-year-old man doesn't understand how a car works, and some trailers for stuff came out. All that and more here. It's pretty good. What do you think?
I feel like that sentence ended just a little bit soon. I felt like here should have been followed by on the.
I pointed when I said here.
You should have mentioned what channel you were on or something.
Twitch.com.
On Channel 5 News.
No, never Channel 5 News. God and bloody burn it.
I know, it's all about Channel 4 News. I know it's all about Channel 4 News.
No, this is a breaking news special edition podcast because a lot of things happened today.
Yeah.
And if you're watching live, this has happened after yesterday. But if you're watching on the channel, it's before. It's before the podcast, so it's between, kind of. So,
yeah. So
it's
obviously,
a prequel and a sequel.
Yes.
Square Enix has confirmed there are going to be 2 elusive targets back in Hitman. Elusive Target 12 is going to immediately follow Elusive Target 11. It genuinely have. This was announced in the last 24 hours. The fixer is going to be immediately followed by the next one. Back in Paris, 2 elusive targets back to back. That has never happened before.
I kicked John from the Twitch chat for the thing. He's probably still talking.
You literal bastard!
Kicked her from TeamSpeak.
You kicked me off the live stream.
Oh, John, I'm surprised you could make it back in due to your knowledge of how things.
I know how TeamSpeak works.
Oh, that's well done. Okay, so. Okay, do we want to talk about Red Dead Redemption 2 first, or do we want to talk about the Nintendo Switch
We'll save the
first?
good stuff for later. I'm one of those people who leaves the meat and the Yorkshire puddings till last, so we'll leave that till the end. We'll talk about the Nintendo Switch first.
Okay, I'm excited for it.
Alright, well, okay.
Why? Nintendo have proved over the last decade they just don't know how to make a home console work.
No, right.
But they have proved they know how to make a handheld, and this way they're doing both, so...
No, they're just doing one. I think this is quietly them, while saving face and not being willing to admit it. This is basically them doing a Sega and throwing in the towel on home consoles. They're saying, screw it, we make handhelds and software, that's all we're going to do. We're going to pretend it's a home console, but it's not. It's just a good handheld.
John, right, this is running an NVIDIA Tegra processor, right? Mm-hmm. The NVIDIA Shield tablet, it's basically an NVIDIA Shield, like a better NVIDIA Shield tablet. And those things are fucking powerful. Like, the NVIDIA Shield tablet on its own is more powerful than like an Xbox One or a PS4 even. If you can optimize them correctly. And this is one of the newer generation ones. So in theory, it should be more powerful or as powerful as a PS4 or an Xbox One.
And if anyone who'd been proving themselves over the last 20 years to be competent at putting together a decent home console were using it, I'd have a huge amount of excitement and faith. But it's
NVIDIA,
not.
Though.
It's Nintendo.
The Shield is good, though.
Who did the graphics cards in the Wii U?
AMD, they were all AMD. Now they've moved to NVIDIA because the Tegra is just great.
Yeah, but the problem is, right, so with Nintendo, you're either going to get, like, low price or quality. Like, they tend to go more low price than actually having processing power, is the thing that they've always done. They've always gone, this is only going to be
for generations and generations.
Yes, but even so, the Tegra generally is reasonably low price and reasonably powerful.
How much is the Shield, the NVIDIA Shield, then? The
NVIDIA Shield tablet, I think, with a Tegra, I think it had a K1 in, was about 250.
250. Okay, now you've got to add in like those little slotty-in controllers, so I'll say about 300. And now you've got to have the hub.
Shield.
But here's the thing: the games were clearly running
faster. No, sorry, I take it back. The NVIDIA Shield K1 8-inch tablet was 170.
The games were clearly running faster when it was plugged in. In that, even in that promotional trailer, there was like it was running at about 30 or whatever the hell it was when it was in the console mode. But when it was in handheld mode, that Zelda game wasn't hitting 20.
I feel, though, that if that actually is how it works, it's probably downclocking it to save power.
Which is to be expected. The 3DS had frame rate issues up the arse as well.
Now, the NVIDIA Shield K1, it's an 8-inch tablet with a K1, and it's got a 4K screen, and that's 170. So... And the battery life on that was actually reasonably good as well. If I think it was about 3 hours game time or sort of 10 hours screen on time.
That's not that good. That strikes me as very bad.
I know.
I mean, you know,
Oh, same
I've
as
not
a
been into handheld
Vita.
games for a while, but next to how the DS or the GBA were, that's dreadful.
But you can't really compare it to those because it's
Well,
more
you
of
probably
a
should be
tablet.
comparing it to DS. It's one of the most successful consoles Nintendo's ever made.
Yeah, but this isn't like the DS you can put in your pocket. This you can't put in your pocket.
Well, I don't know. It feels like you could kind of take it apart. You could like put one controller in one pocket, one controller in another pocket, and then just slip the main bit down your pants or something.
I want to point out,
You could fit this in your trousers. It just requires a little bit of working around.
I mean, John, I do expect it to have more life than the Shield because the Shield is thinner, it's smaller, and it has a higher res screen. So I'm expecting this to just have a bigger fucking battery, significantly. So I wouldn't be surprised if it had double the battery life of that.
It also didn't look like it was hitting 1080p on that screen. That screen looked about 720.
No.
Nintendo never focused on frame rate or high resolution, though. That's never been their priority when they're putting together new tech. So I have no anticipation that on the home version it's going to hit 1080 or 60 any chance whatsoever.
You say this, but a lot of the games on the Wii U hit 1080, 60. But usually it's because they're simple graphics. I mean, at the end of the day, I've never liked buying portable consoles like the Vita or the 3DS purely because I don't like playing portable consoles. I've got nice screens. I want to play it on my nice big screens, not the little screen in my hand. And the same reason I don't like buying tablets, because I'd use a tablet a bit, but I wouldn't use it quite enough. And I'm not gonna. This is all of the things in one, and I'd use it quite a lot. Because it is a tablet, it is more of a tablet, and that was one of the things I always said about the Wii U. That was one of the things that made, I think, the price reasonably good. Because even as just a home tablet, even though it was kind of shitty, it was still cheap for a home tablet, and you got a games console with it. And I always said that was one of the strengths of it. And this is it's a full tablet. It's got the cool controllers, and they can be used as two little controllers. And I like the thing where you can use them as two little controllers.
I look forward to losing those. Just losing them. They're going to be lost immediately. They're really tiny. They look uncomfortable as dick.
They do. Someone in the chat just said, you think Nintendo should focus on getting more big developers to develop for the consoles? The fucking list of developer support they have for this is huge.
I'd like to point out that Sony and Xbox tart that list out every time they do it, but I mean, it doesn't really mean much.
It doesn't.
In all fairness, when you look at the big names, they might be saying, actually, you know what? 80% of our new releases won't actually work. We're just going to give you one thing. Yeah,
but you see, compared to the Wii U, because they had easily half these in the Wii U. And the fact that you can, a game like Skyrim's running on it, if a game like Skyrim's going on it, you are going to get some AAA titles on that.
Probably, but Nintendo again, since 1997, has consistently, 4 generations in a row, had poor third-party support.
Yep.
I have no reason to believe that suddenly, just because they've put one PowerPoint slide up, they're going to get all the third-party support. Don't believe it. They're going to have to prove that before I believe that.
They are, but I think they're opening up to it because, they did come out and they put Mario on iOS now. I think they are trying to be a bit more competitive with it.
Yeah, now Apple can give them... Nope, never mind. Apple can't give them anything.
I've had a look on the... is it the Tegra K1? Was one you were on about.
K1's what is in the Shield, but I think a K2 is going in.
Well, that can play Half-Life 2 at about 20 FPS, according to this review that I'm reading. Kicks up about 20 FPS on Half-Life 2.
Is that a 4K, though?
No, that's just on the Shield.
Well, yeah, but is that on the Shield, the original Shield?
No, this is I'm just checking this review out. It says the Tegra K1.
Or is that the tablet or is that the actual Shield portable?
Tablet.
Okay, because the tablet has a 4K screen, so is that actually running at 4K or 1080?
This is at 1080p.
Okay, that's shit.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, there's no power in these things.
Well, there is though.
Well, yeah, but it's Nintendo never really the big one for power.
But this is what I'm saying. The Tegra is powerful. And you say it runs half the battery, and I'm sure, I have no doubt it does, but, actual hardware-wise, the power of this thing, technically, is more powerful than the GPUs in, the PS4 and the Xbox One. You've got to
actually have something else to back that thing up.
Yeah, you've got to optimize for that, and clearly Half-Life 2 wasn't.
Yeah, the bloody Zelda game was absolutely dire when it was in handheld mode, which is weird. I mean, you'd fudge that footage, wouldn't you? Just run a video on it.
Yeah.
I'd fucking do that. Fuck you all. We'll probably optimize it by then. Maybe. Who knows?
Well, they're trying to distract us by putting aspirational things, like trying to make us think better of our lives.
Yeah,
sorry,
I didn't want a shield. I just wanted to have coffee on a rooftop, actually. That's all I got out of this.
Exactly. I like meeting attainably attractive women in airports.
Yeah.
That's great.
God, that fucking... By the way, someone in the chat just said...
They pulled this shit before. Do you remember the Pokemon Go trailer where they promised we'd go down to the park and meet hot women there as well? Yeah. That never fucking happened.
And I've sprayed Lynx deodorant on myself several times.
I went to a park where there were loads of lures going off. You know what was there? Guys. Nothing but guys. Mostly 10 years younger than me. It was depressing.
Okay, so someone says in the chat that it's actually using the Tegra X2, not the K2, which is a more powerful.
Right, cool. I'll check into that.
Which has, apparently, it's got 1.5 teraflops.
That's not
of power.
Teraflops is useless comparison. It's like going, how many swings is it near? It's just not an important thing. It's really not. All right.
See.
It's yeah.
Tegra X2, 64-bit dual core. Oh wait. I'm confused. Oh, it's two set. Okay, right. So it's a dual core GPU plus a quad core CPU. 256 CUDA cores, Pascal based. 1,500, yeah, 1.5 teraflops.
I just want to point something out. Has anyone ever had like a positive gaming experience with a mobile graphics card? Because I never have in my entire life ever.
You say this, but they were originally trying to market this to go in the consoles. They were originally trying to market this to go on the PS4 and the Xbox One. It isn't really. It's designed as a multi-purpose, low profile chip rather than a specifically portable chip.
So it's a jack of all trades chip.
Yeah.
I'm just if this thing does exist in just a shield, just buy that instead, then you get Steam games.
Well, this is the interesting thing, though, because I am curious, because they said that there is third-party app support on the, I'm going to still call it the NX. I'd be interested to see if...
Call it by its name.
I'd be interested to see if NVIDIA release an app on it that just makes it an NVIDIA Shield, because, I mean, really, the Switch is the next evolution of the Shield tablet in every way. So I'd be curious to see if they did that, because if they did that, that would just make it, that would just be, that'd just be fucking...
Yeah, it would be game over. I'd buy 50 of them and have them in every room of my house. That's just... But I've never seen a tablet that's... I mean, because a tablet with controls, which is nice. And it has, as much as the controls look small, it does actually have a controller as well, which is nice. You can actually just have the controller thing going on and stand the tablet up. I mean, that's going to be harder to do on, say, a train. It's far too big. I can't... That doesn't... I like small handhelds. I like taking my PSP Go because I can just fit it in my pocket. I like taking my original DS. I like small handhelds. I don't like to go, I'm going to play my handheld.
On a train.
Yeah,
on a train, that will be awkward.
Especially if it's a train without a flappy downy seat in front of you. Going to be like, alright. Well, that guy's like sitting up in the airport and he's like screwing it into the tray table and he's getting his things out. He's like, I'm playing Skyrim on a controller. I noticed that I don't think any of
that, in fairness.
In any of the Skyrim footage, nobody looked left or right. True story there. All the footage was very static, just strafey moving, and then one shot where they looked up at a dragon. There's no looking left or right at all in that Skyrim footage.
Ooh.
What?
Interesting.
What?
Desperately trying to avoid showing off the lack of V-Sync.
I would guess so.
Nice.
Yeah. But in fact, I don't think any of the footage, apart from Mario Kart, and this is hilarious, because nobody knows if that's Mario Kart 9 or not, because it's got King Boo in it. King Boo is not currently in Mario Kart 8, so people can't decide if that's Mario Kart 9 or if that's Mario Kart 8 and they put a bit of DLC on it, which says how fucking far the Mario Kart series evolves.
Even without knowing that level of detail, I have no idea what Mario Kart that is.
Again,
no
Splatoon.
Yep.
Splatoon was shown in it, and I wasn't sure if it was a port, but someone mentioned that it actually has different hairstyles in Splatoon, thinking it's Splatoon 2. Again, as you say, you can't really tell, which says how much they changed.
Yeah.
In all fairness, I think we take that whole section with a pinch of salt, because it also featured them basically selling out Wembley Stadium to watch a Splatoon tournament, which I don't think is a thing either. That's slightly more unlikely. That's even more unlikely than me going to an airport and meeting an attractive woman because we're both playing Zelda.
In South Korea, John, you were saying about the idea that because you're using cartridges, you were complaining about that on Twitter.
I was concerned by cartridges because cartridges typically lead to higher games pricing. Pretty much whenever we've had cartridges with enough storage in them to actually manage home gaming, it's always put the price of the media up.
Yeah. It does mean way faster loading.
Yep, fine.
Which is
absolutely
a nice advantage.
I mean, in fairness, this is one of the big problems with the PS4 and the Xbox. Now, they do have to install the whole disc because they can't read at the speed required to run these games from the disc.
Yeah.
So a cartridge could negate the idea of fucking installing, which means it is plug and play, which is really what a console should be.
It is. I'm just worried that this either limits them because, like, say, how big are modern releases getting these days in terms of size? Like, some modern releases are 60 gig plus.
Yeah.
60 gigs, but that's with high-res textures on PC, so I wouldn't expect 60 gigs. I mean,
Sure. So you're either getting a vastly
Sorry. 58 gigs is the size of 2K17 on PS4.
Okay, that is true.
So we're dealing with either inferior experiences or or kind of storage in cartridges that's getting so big that when you have to factor in the cost just of the physical format is going to be adding quite a lot to the cost of the game.
You say this,
Gears of War 4 is 80 gig on Xbox One.
Okay, just to clarify this, right? Fucking modern storage media, like portable small, like SD cards, they are cheap as shit. Like the price of flash media in the past 10 years has fucking dropped massively.
Yes.
You know, you can get an 128 gig SD card for pittance.
But the price of DS games never drops. And 3DS games, they hardly ever drop because it is a very expensive storage medium.
Yeah, but Wii U games never really drop in price either. I think I don't know if...
I remember GameCube games getting very cheap because I bought a GameCube and a ton of cheap games.
I think it's probably a mixture of the fact of the format and the fact the consoles I'm going to call it niche because it's not sold much.
Yeah.
But like Wii U games, they're very hard to find. When I do find them, they're being sold for almost full price second hand because nowhere really sells them. And that's why the Wii U's just expensive. You can't really get stuff second hand in it. And I feel that because this is going to be trying to target everyone, their entire market of home and portable consoles, and if they can make it mass market enough and they can sell enough of the damn things, then they're going to be able to bring the price of the storage media down. I feel that if it's a better experience, I
think you're being very utopian there. Suggesting that Nintendo are going to sell enough consoles that they're literally going to bring the wholesale price of a technology down. Something that has never happened in the history of all of gaming.
That is probably
even to the Wii.
No, that's the best case scenario, isn't it? That's probably what they're aiming for, but I'm not saying that'll happen.
That's not best case scenario. That is 4 billion people all decide to buy this console scenario.
No, look, Sony brought down the price of Blu-rays.
Sony invented, published, made they gave Blu-rays life.
Yeah.
They didn't bring the price down. It was their thing.
It was their thing.
Yeah, so they could put the price down.
They could bring the price down they want just by
thing.
cutting into their profits or choosing to take a loss to try and get the medium. That's totally different.
But if Nintendo are making these cartridges themselves, again...
I don't think they've ever made their own cartridges. I mean, like, the tech I think they've leased out.
Yeah, they've always relied on other people to actually do the manufacturing.
Yeah, that's true.
I think, there's a very, very, very big problem I have with the way it's set up. And my biggest issue with the Switch as it stands is that it looks like you can't make a handheld game anymore. Because it's a console. Like, I can't see people making something small and interesting like Elite Beat Agents anymore. I just don't see that as a game that's going to exist because that's a handheld game.
Unless it just works like the GBA player and it just puts it on a big screen. It doesn't look great.
Yeah, but I mean, it's more like playing a handheld game a handheld game is built for nice, interesting, short chunks. That's a good handheld game works on. It's like you play it for a short while. It's for the bus trip, the train ride, and all that sort of thing. And then, I mean, like when Metal Gear Solid went to handheld, it got that mission structure system with the little individual missions. When it went back to console with Metal Gear Solid 5 and it kept that mission structure system, it just didn't feel right. It felt broken up and bitty because it didn't work for that. So you need different kind of game structures for different, like, console and handheld. And I don't see many people going the handheld route.
You could, and I'm going to go down the Matt route of ridiculously not going to happen optimism here. You could have cheaper games that are purely made basically for it to be used as a portable thing, where the home version is literally just upscaled the same thing, and really it's just a portable game where it can therefore be on a smaller device. You might be able to get the actual physical media cheaper, less development time. You might be able to be selling at half the price a game that is understood to be just really for the portable experience, but you can have it at home if you want to.
You see, I think they're not going to give up on the 3DS.
Well, they can't, because this...
I think they are going to keep the 3DS going as their handheld, and they're just going to consider this their portable.
Do you think...
Hang on, wait, what's the difference between a portable and a handheld?
They're going to keep this their console. This is just their console, which can be portable.
No, this is them giving up. This is
it's not. Hang on, no, it's not.
This is the Dreamcast, right? This is their Dreamcast moment here.
John, it's not, because it's a bag. It's what you put in a bag. 3DS is marketed as something you put in your pocket. It's to take to school and shit. Now, actually, here's an interesting concept, right? Do you think that they could introduce, because the Switch technically seems to be, I wouldn't say an open platform, but it seems the idea that since those controllers, do you think they'd ever release just a smaller screen variant?
How many variants of the DS and 3DS have there been? So many. I believe they will release multiple
I honestly
versions.
think we're going to get a new DS. I think from watching what I saw today, I think that's not Nintendo going, this is our handheld and our console. I think this is our console which can also be brought places. I thought, because that screen's just too big. If it was smaller, I would have gone, that's their replacement. But it's not. It's just too big.
But do you not think that they would just fully invest in this, architecture in this system by, instead of releasing just a new DS, they just release a smaller screen variant of the Switch, which works in the same system, it works with the same controllers.
That sounds like a smart move. So they won't do it.
Everything would be integrated into that system then.
Yeah, they wouldn't do that.
Why?
That's too many eggs in one basket. Nintendo's sales just aren't high enough to swallow that. Their console sales are down. Their handheld sales are kind of dropping off from the DS, but they're still a lot higher. They sell more handheld.
But that's what I'm saying.
Removing their handheld and going into console as well is going to put a lot of people off, especially if it's $300, $400.
Well, no,
because the DS came out at what? It was $99, was it, when the DS first came out? It's different markets.
No, it is, but that's what I'm saying. If they could easily release a smaller version of the Switch, right, with the same controllers, because the controller, the main controller, because you plug them into a weird controller thing which looks like a battery thing.
Yeah.
Like that, but instead of a battery thing, it's a slightly bigger and it has a screen. Use that, replace 3DS, and the thing is, if they did that, it could get a lot of the portable market onto this system and could increase the value of the system significantly.
But here's some problems for it. How would you buy that bit? Would you buy that bit separately?
I imagine.
But then you're just selling the separate thing. What's the point of connecting it? Because people who just want a handheld will just buy the handheld, and people who want the Switch will be giving the Switch and the bigger handheld.
I suppose.
I don't think... Because I assumed that this was going to be some sort of I assumed it would be like a DS folding opening kind of thing that sat on top of a charging dock that, gave it a bit more processing power and battery life, etc. And then you pulled it off and then it was just your standard flippy open handheld.
But you see,
it's massive. It's way too big.
I know, but I wouldn't be surprised if they sort of went the Apple route with their ecosystem, because with the Apple app ecosystem, you've got the iPhone and the iPad, and they are different aspect ratios and different sizes, but they standardize the system for them. They standardize the OS, and they standardize the apps that go on them. And, for example, if you buy...
Yeah, I'd like to point out very briefly that this is Nintendo. They've only just discovered that online gaming is a thing.
True. But, right, just, a best case scenario, let's say, right, because the Apple system, often, if you buy, an iPhone game, right, you will get the iPad version as well. And they will run at different resolutions and different sizes, and they might have slightly different features. And I could totally see that working for this.
Mm-hmm. This is Nintendo, who throws out everything, every console, and resells things to different console, because slightly remastering and then charging full price for it makes more money than providing free extra versions.
Honestly, I think the best case scenario is they do this is their home console, and then they release a new handheld, a small foldy handheld, $75 to $99, that's low power and is built for its own interesting games. And we have that again.
But do you not think the ecosystem being shared, much like iOS, would be better?
No, because it's Nintendo and they'll fuck it up.
Okay, let's say they didn't fuck it up.
Okay.
Hypothetically.
Okay, then I will ride to space on my magic broomstick.
Okay.
In that universe, where Nintendo don't fuck up everything that they touch.
Nintendo just throw everything out and start over too often. They do not have They do not have the people working at Nintendo who have the vision and the clarity of thought in that regard and with that vision to do what Apple has done. That's just not what they do. They've not hired and promoted and put into positions of leadership people who think like that.
And it's sad.
That would require a major step change of leadership that is not happening.
Well, it's sad because obviously, clearly, this system is the closest they've come to doing something like that.
Yeah.
And it's possible they could do something like that. That idea I just said about having a smaller version seems perfectly possible. But, as you say, it is Nintendo and Nintendo and Nintendo and Nintendo.
Well, no,
Nintendo
I just think that the handheld market is people who buy cheap consoles with interesting games on. And it's always been that way. It's why the DS, which was like so underpowered, but it was really interesting and people flocked to it. Because it was interesting and different. And I can see them making something interesting and different and small. Because a handheld gamer who just, I mean, like with mobile phones especially, a handheld gamer isn't going to be someone who's looking to put out $300, $400 on a thing. I mean, the next Pokemon game isn't going to be built for the Switch. Because if it is...
Not the next one, but the one after it probably is.
Well, I'd say it's not, because they make handheld games and the Switch just isn't right for that. It won't be that top-down RPG kind of style on a home console. I don't think it's ever going to come across.
They did some experiments with Colosseum on the GameCube. It kind of worked.
But if they are saying that this is where they're going from now on, this is everything, then we can officially confirm the next Pokemon game will be on consoles. Well, one console. But I don't think so, because I think unless they're going, this is our console market and mobile phones are our handheld market now, because they are releasing mobile phone games.
Yeah, this is true.
Which is shit. It's like an endless Mario Runner and an Animal Crossing thing. And
are either of you concerned that they're trying to do kind of everything and not focus on one thing and doing it really well?
Yeah, well, that's what they always do.
Kind of. But
Any time they've been successful is when they've actually just focused on one thing. The DS and the Wii, perfect examples.
They have a decent potential Venn diagram, though. If they can get the pricing right, I think this is going to be about whether they can get it cheap enough. If they can get the pricing right that the handheld gamers, on the basis that Nintendo make good handhelds, buy it anyway, but cheap enough that a lot of more traditional gamers think, hey, I wouldn't mind playing various PC games from 5-odd years ago that run okay on this thing. I'd like to play Skyrim on the move. That's worth me forking out, say, $250 for, because that's an interesting novelty.
Why fork out $250? $170 you get the Nvidia Shield, which has a controller. And it has a shield, and that does run 5-year-old games.
In fairness, right.
That's the thing, though. Who the fuck is that? If it is the handheld, there's no market for it that I can see.
No, I see a market for it. Because it's fucking more portable than the Nvidia Shield.
How? It's massive.
The Nvidia Shield tablet, right, you want to use it with a controller, you have to actually bring a fucking controller with it.
Well, yeah, you've got to bring 2 controllers stapled to the side of it.
Yeah, but it's integrated into one brick package. You can slide that in. It's not as bulky, and that makes a big difference. It does.
Pretty fucking bulky. Like that's bulky, a rucksack job. That's not just a pocket job.
I know, but it's the difference between the width of a reasonably...
There is no market for a handheld that it doesn't fit in your pocket.
No, I know that, but I'm saying
as you're a nan sitting at home with your 3DS XXXXL.
I'm not saying... Look, you realise now that the tablet market in the past 5 years has exploded. The idea of... the idea of getting sort of a low-end PC is sort of gone. It's either you go high-end PC or you sort of go tablet.
Yeah.
That gap has widened, and they're clearly trying to branch into that with this. They're trying to hit that casual tablet market. They're trying to hit that home...
Well, my tablet, which I've got, which is attached to a very nice keyboard, and it just about plays Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 and runs Netflix, was £30.
What's that?
I don't know. It's an Asus thing. It's a piece of shit. It takes forever to load anything, but when it loads, it runs absolutely fine and smooth. I can plug a mouse into it, and it actually folds open like a laptop, but the tablet can be taken off. It's like the Asus switchy whatever. But I just needed and that's tiny. It's a tiny little thing. It folds up, and I can't fit it in a pocket, but I consider it to be a laptop. So if I'm going anywhere, that's how I transfer things. It's just a very small, neat little system. But that's £30-40. I mean, you don't need to spend a lot to get that.
You don't, but you are getting significantly more by buying a Switch rather than that.
Are you, though?
Well, yeah.
Because you're having to spend... I mean, we don't know the price of it now, but I'm going to assume, considering it's got a console bit and a handheld bit and sliding in and out controllers and a very big screen, and it's got to be connective, and that thing's got to have... All the processing power has got to fit inside the handheld section. And it may
Again, though, based on the price of the Nvidia Shield, I don't expect it to be more than £250.
I do.
Yeah, but Nvidia Shield didn't have a lot of stuff that they're having to make.
I absolutely think that's
true.
going to be huge. I mean, for one thing, the Nvidia Shield has Nvidia graphics cards in it. The Nintendo one has Nvidia graphics cards, therefore has to pay Nvidia money on top of just getting the things for licensing and stuff. So they're really immediately at a loss there. I mean, it's a whole new set of structures and everything. I assume it's going to be 300. If it's less, I'll be surprised, but I'll also be quite concerned that it's vastly underpowered.
But you say this, but Nintendo know the market, and they know their market
No, they
is a lower
fucking
cost
don't.
market.
Have you seen how pathetic the Wii U and the new 3DS are?
I understand this, but their market has always been, they've aimed at lower price points. They've always aimed at lower price points. Always.
They have,
And it
always.
worked precisely once.
Yeah.
With the
I
Wii,
know, but-
it didn't
I know.
work 2 generations before, then it didn't work the generation
I
after.
agree with you. I agree with you that it might not be a good strategy, but this is a strategy they use, and I feel it's a strategy they're probably going to go with.
The Wii U launched at $349.99. Now look at that tablet with its fucking ugly, horrific bulkiness, which has no real processing power in it, and then look at the size of the thing they've just announced.
True, but again, look at the Nvidia Shield tablet.
You know the
Which
Wii
is a
U
very
only came
similar-
out 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Like 4 years is when they announced it.
And really, it's a year too late. They should have kind of put the pillar over
In fact,
that
it's
thing's
slightly
face
less.
a year
It
ago.
came out November 25th, so it's slightly less than 4 years ago is when they announced it.
To point
I
out,
wonder
right,
what
the
they're going to
Wii
do for
U,
its 4th birthday.
the Wii U is younger than GTA 5.
Yeah. It is a system that died quickly because they made a thing. They named it terribly. They made a thing that nobody ever wanted.
Now, in fairness, I like my Wii U because the Wii U is essentially a Wii plus other things. I like my Wii U for that. I use it as a Wii and, to get some of the Nintendo exclusives. And it's fine for that. But it's not really good at the new stuff, really, is the problem. I got it for some of the remasters, really, is all I bought it for. And they're good. Wind Waker Remastered is great. But
It's just the same thing again. I mean,
Nintendo,
Nintendo, that's Nintendo's problem. Who is the Switch aimed at? Because I don't think that thing that they've got there is going to go for the casual market. There is zero appeal. There was no motion controls on display. There's zero appeal for the mass market. So they're going back to the gamers market.
But watch that video. Watch that video. That is aimed at the casual gaming market.
No,
Maybe
that's
not the full-
just that's aimed at
How'd you
stockholders.
get that out of the video?
That's aimed at stockholders. That video.
No, that video, right? That video is aimed at stockholders, but there was a certain attitude to that video, which is
Well, that's their adverts. I mean, it broke up with the Nintendo Switch logo every 30 seconds on the clock, so that is they're going to release those as adverts every 30 seconds.
I know they are, but the point is, right? That is clearly trying to aim at a certain demographic of people, right? They're not aiming it at the really full-on casual market like the Wii. They're never going to have the success like the Wii again. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But they are trying to aim at the people who casually play. They might have a 3DS and they're thinking about getting a home console. Those kind of people. Like they have a TV and they probably have a Fire Stick or something, and they're slightly into gaming, but not really. That's who they're aiming at. They're aiming at getting people
people that don't exist. When they hit the Wii, when they hit the Wii, it's simply because mums and grandmas and dads and people who've never really gamed got interested, and it got word of mouth out, and they got very lucky. And because it was that motion system thing, it was a great sort of party thing. Lots of people came around, played it, went, "Oh, we got to get one of those." I do not see that happening because it's just a normal games console.
I'm actually surprised those little controllers aren't motion controllers.
I'm fucking happy. Death to motion controls, apart from in first person. I don't see the market for this thing, for the Switch. I don't. And it's annoying. I mean, I really hope they do continue making handhelds, because that's what they're good at. And this is not a good handheld.
I do see the market for it, because I think...
Well, what kind of person who wants a handheld wants to go, I want something that's massive?
Nobody. But they're not aiming at people who want a handheld. They're aiming at people who buy tablets.
But they only sell handhelds, Matt. They don't sell consoles anymore. They have two markets. They've got the handheld market and the console market. The console market, nothing. That's dead. It's a tumbleweed of nothing that's just been crashing down forever. The handheld market is where they sell, I would say, pretty much everything.
I agree. Yep. They're gonna
So that's who they would want to focus on, and this thing doesn't have it. I think this is just a console that tries to entice a few handheld people over, and they're going to continue their handheld.
No, they are. They're trying to.
It's the opposite. I think it's a handheld console that's pretending to be a home console because Nintendo don't want to admit they've lost.
They're going to try and entice a few
Possibly.
handheld people over. They're trying to gain faith back in the console market, which probably won't work very well. And they're trying to get a huge new. They're trying to get a new audience as well. Is the key thing. They are trying, and they're trying to. One of the way they're trying that is they're trying to go. Look, we're different. We're different to those other consoles that are just glorified PCs. We're different. You know, they're trying to. They're branching more into the tablet market as opposed to the fucking. The games console market, and they're trying to do everything, and I'm sure it will appeal to a lot of people. And I know, Dan, you don't see those kind of audience because that's not your domain.
Oh no, it's
But that
not.
audience-
It's the domain of I see how they've sold before.
No, I know that, but the audience exists now, and
I don't think
does
it
exist.
does.
But it does, and you
It
don't
might
see
do,
it
but it's
exist,
not
though.
widespread. Like, I know a lot of people who vary between like very casual gamers to quite hardcore gamers to formerly hardcore gamers gone towards that, and I don't see any of them wanting or buying this.
Okay,
on
no, I
any
know-
part of the spectrum.
no,
Do you know
I
who
know
wants
that, but
this?
that's-
Do you know who wants this? Nintendo fans. And you know why? Because it's got a new Mario game on it that looks like it's not shite. That Mario game looks really fun.
Dan, how many people in the audience, in your YouTube demographics, how many people watch on tablets?
I literally don't know, but I can look it up.
Let's find out.
Go find now.
How
it
much
is
do you think
reasonably-
it is?
Do.
I think it's reasonably high.
Reasonably high.
I think it's probably at least 30%.
30%, he says.
All right, let's find out. This will be fun.
Which one
Playback
would it be?
locations.
I might be wrong.
Playback locations is just the geography, isn't it?
Oh no, yeah, sorry, that's the wrong one. Which one's the devices?
Yeah, I would say
Yeah, there it
devices.
Devices. There we go.
Uh,
I have
Oh.
13% on tablets.
10% on
12%.
tablets.
Okay, so it's about the same.
Putting
Cool.
it behind
Wrong.
game console.
It's actually above
I've
game
got
console.
I've got 12% game console, only 11% on tablet.
10% games console and 12% tablet.
But think about
So
that.
it's
That's-
broadly similar, very similar.
but that's about 20%, and they're trying to hit that 20%. That's where they're trying to hit. Is that
Not
20%?
20%. There's only 10%.
20% of people watching on games consoles and tablets, the people who are going to be using them to consume content. They're trying to aim at that market and try to take tablets and game consoles and squish them together and go, you don't need these anymore, you don't need these anymore, just bring it all here and we'll give you this all in one.
I'm
package."
not-
Until they've not demonstrated in any way that the Switch is going to have all the functionality a normal tablet will have
I'm
as
not
well.
I'm not saying it's going to be good, but I'm not saying it's going to entice people. But that's clearly who they're aiming at.
I'd like to point out that I watch YouTube videos on a games console if I happen to be downstairs and the games console's plugged into the TV and I go through there. Or I watch it through my TV that's there, depending on which controller is nearest. But normally I would just be seeing on my computer. Everybody just access things from different places. I don't think that's a market, I just think that's convenience.
It is convenience, but that's what I'm saying. That's the tablets. The people who are watching on tablets and the people who are watching on games console. That's probably one of the primary sources of watching it. And I know a lot of people do watch stuff.
Yeah, but
primarily
people
on
who
tablets.
have tablets, right, aren't looking for Skyrim-like game experiences. They're looking for Flappy Birds and Match 3 puzzle type game experiences. If you're
Not
going
all
for
of
that
them.
big audience. No, but now
Not all of
your
them.
market
A
is
lot of them
now a
are.
percent of
No.
a percent of a percent.
No. A lot
You're
of them
targeting
are. A
people
lot.
who don't want a console, who want to watch YouTube videos on a tablet, but only those ones who also want a big interactive
No.
gaming experience. Which
No,
to be
no.
honest, I think is about 8 people.
No, I'm saying they're targeting the people who are using tablets casually and who are thinking about games console, or they do other games console that they just use casually for some games. This is trying to look. That's what I'm saying. It's not aiming at really any specific. It's trying to encompass everyone. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying the tactic is good or it's justified or it'll work. But I'm saying that's what they're trying to do. Whether it's good
They're
or
going
not.
to aim at the tiniest market known to man.
No, it is a big market. It is a big market because the tablet market is huge.
Yeah,
now.
but the tablet market,
It's
tablets
huge.
aren't 350 quid unless you're getting a good one. If you got a good one, you can already play games on it.
You can't, but but they're trying to entice people. They're trying to go, look, here's a new thing. I'm not saying it's good. Again, I'm not saying it'll work. But that's it.
I remember originally seeing the Wii and going, that's a dumb name, but shit, that's going to sell like hotcakes.
Yeah.
It's not for me. And I see that this is not for me, but this I can't see who this is for. I had the same issue with the Wii U. I was like, I don't know who the fuck you're aiming that at. Because this just looks like a Wii U where the controller you can just take with you a bit.
Well, the interesting thing about the Wii U, someone actually linked me back to the original video they used to announce the Wii U, was it was full of children.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There
this
was-
one's
there was
full
a-
of adults, isn't it?
There was a lot of children. There was a kid who, his dad wanted to watch baseball on TV, so the kid had to get the tablet and play a very kiddie-looking game somewhere else or whatever. This one is looking at I don't know. It looks like a jeans advert. There's like slightly yuppie 30-something New Yorkers with their rooftop
Well, they're
parties.
the people that fucking remember Mario. They're the people who actually have that Nintendo nostalgia. That's what they go for. I think what they're doing is making a console aimed at Nintendo fans for the first time in forever.
I want to suggest a different alternative launch strategy, which is what you do is you open up on a sad man. He's sitting on the toilet. He's having a difficult shit. He's got his phone in his hands. It's probably a Samsung, so it's catching fire or something. He's playing a colour matching game, and he's looking bored. And then we just kind of get the voiceover. That was then. This is now. And then it suddenly cuts to him looking really happy as he's playing Skyrim while he's having his shit. And all of a sudden, the fact that it's difficult shit isn't bothering him anymore. The fact he doesn't get enough fibre in his diet is not bothering him, because now he can be the Dragonborn while he shits.
So,
I think that would sell way better. And that would reach out to people. That would touch people. The idea that you could play Skyrim on the toilet. That's way more real to me.
But the PS Vita can do that. Skyrim's on the PlayStation. You just beam it over. You can still do that. That's the thing that you can do. You can get a tablet. You can get your Nvidia Shield. These is things we have. I'd like to point out, sorry, we've got a new bit of information from Laura K. Dale, who basically all this information that we had, she knew was coming, and she's been very good. She's just said that it's got mediocre battery life. The Switch. Yeah. Mediocre. That's they are not targeting the handheld market. I fucking bet we're going to get a new handheld console. This is just their console, and this is going to die like the Wii U, and they'll get something else that'll focus on.
I still think they're targeting tablet market. They're a big market. I still do. I know, Dan. You don't really think that market exists because you hate that market. It's not that it doesn't exist.
It's this. I don't see necessarily whether you can cross over to that with a traditional games console.
Okay, right.
It's like saying there's a lot of people who eat shreddies, but if you make a games console that's shaped like a package of shreddies, that doesn't mean the shreddies eaters are going to buy it.
Why do people have tablets? It's so they can work on a way more easy way of traveling and stuff. And people like tablets because it's more of a you can do all the things your computer does, but it's the most portable version of that. It's a games console that's shaped like a tablet. Just feels nothing that a tablet user wants.
No, but
I agree. It's too superficial to make sense.
No, because it's going to be a tablet as well. It's going to act like a tablet in a lot of ways. And, I totally see that market is there. That market is there, and that they are aiming at it. And I don't think it's going to work. I agree, but it's not going to work.
It's not going to work because I would say it's not going to work because that market's not there. But I'll tell you what, though, the Mario game looked very good fun. Looks very nice.
Okay, look, right. Dan, you said about the Vita and the Shield.
I'd like to point something out. The Switch actually slightly interests me if they're going in that we're actually just making a Nintendo console way. And I could just leave it plugged in and actually have a Nintendo console. I would totally be down with that, because then they'd actually maybe put money into making games that are interesting. Console games that are interesting. And if they do the handheld thing as well, then we get handheld games that are interesting. That would be nice.
Okay. You know why the Shield and the Vita didn't do very well, being marketed in the way you're saying?
Because
they're being sold as peripherals, expensive peripheral devices for a specific thing. This isn't being sold as peripheral. This is sold as an all-in-one that does that and the other thing that people want.
Yeah, well, lots of things get sold as that, and they never do well.
Yeah, but this is a big one. This is Nintendo. They have a big market.
Yeah, and they're coming off the amazing failure that was the Wii U. With the zero brand recognition.
But most people don't give a shit about the Wii U. Or most casual market haven't even fucking heard of the Wii U. They don't give a shit.
If you ask any old person that bought the Wii and say, "Oh, what's that?" They'll go, "That's the Wii." "Oh, this is the Nintendo Switch. What's that?" They don't know Nintendo made the Wii. They're not going to get that casual audience again.
I know, but
I'm just excited. I'm actually happy with this reveal. I'm happy with this reveal because it means that they're most likely going to make a nice underpowered handheld that'll actually be interesting. And that's what they're fucking
Nintendo
good at.
playing to their strengths. I agree.
And this is just the thing that they feel they have to keep making because it's where they started.
I think
if they had the balls to do it, I think they should just work on making a very good handheld, a very good tablet-y thing, whatever. Completely scrap the whole it's also going to be a home content, because then you could save quite a bit of money on all the technology there.
No, but I love that, because I fucking hate
underpower it, just make it a nice handheld console, whatever, and then start developing third-party for Steam, PS4 and Xbox as well.
Yep. And Nintendo
sell
will make
Ocarina
so
of
much
Time
more
and
money,
Majora's Mask HD remaster double pack on Steam for £20 and make $1 billion.
Yeah, literally. If they've got such good brand recognition. Pokemon Go fucking proved this for us. That they don't actually
they've already got most of the Pokemon
anymore.
games remastered at various points. Put the Pokemon games generation by generation up on Steam. Those will sell millions.
I'd like to point
on Steam
out
every generation.
I'd like to point out that at some point during the development of the Switch, when Pokemon Go came out, I guarantee that some big head honchos at Nintendo got together and went, "Do we really want to go through with this, or do we want to now just actually keep making the games, but just put them on other consoles because they will make a bundle for it?" I mean, that's always their end game. They're not going to be killed off. They've got too much brand recognition with people. But if
but you say this, but that is with gamers though, and they want to expand their market to non-gamers. That's what Nintendo.
that's what they did with the Wii, and were massively successful. And then they just fucked it up so hard that they're not going to get it again. The Wii U was a flash in the pan. It's never going to happen.
I know.
Again.
That's what they're trying to do, and I'm not saying it's going to work, but that's what they're trying to do. That's what they're trying to aim at, and it's stupid, and it's probably not going to work, but that's what they're trying to do, clearly.
I just don't like to defend stupidity. I'm like, yeah, you did this wrong. But
I think it's very hard to make any judgment that strong until we know the price point. The price point is going to make all the difference in the world.
If it's $250, I would go, oh, they're not doing handhelds and they're going to die. If it's between $350 and $4, like I'm thinking, then I'm going, all right, we're going to get a handheld again still. They're going to stay in the handheld market. If it's $450 plus, like $400 plus, then I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
I think the sweet spot is they need to get it under 200.
I think
if they could get under 200, they could basically get into the handheld market.
Even if they do it at 250, I still think they're going to go handheld. They're not going to give up that market. This is not going to replace the handheld market at all. All the people, like the handheld market is aimed at fucking, like, the kind of kids who have it in the pocket at school, or people on the bus, or people who just have it in the pocket. Like, this is not that market at all. This is
but those kids on the bus, these days they have tablets. If they had a tablet-sized handheld thing, I don't think that's a problem.
They've just got phones.
They've phones,
Everyone's just got phones.
They've got phones.
You can't.
They have phones too, but my nieces and nephews have tablets as well.
Yeah, but do they take those tablets into school and play them on the playground and shit?
Not only do they take them into school, they've been integrated into lessons.
Well, that's true.
Let me just put one thing across. Right, my dream for Nintendo, they can do all this Switch stuff. We will get into Red Dead in a moment. They will do it. They can do all this Switch stuff. But if they in 2 years' time go, here's another little handheld we're making, and it's like $50 to $75, and it's like a Game Boy Advance SP kind of size, same sort of flip system with a few extra buttons. It's quite low powered, but people are going to do interesting games and stuff for it. I'd be like, yeah, you're going to sell a bajillion of those. 1 bajillion.
I agree, but I think really they should try and do that, but again, try and integrate everything to this same kind of Switch ecosystem, as we've established they're not going to do. But they try and integrate everything to the same system, sort of do this equivalent OS, do what Apple did with the iPad and the iPhone, trying to integrate these systems together and make them compatible and make them, work together seamlessly. I think they could make a great ecosystem. But again, the problem is Apple are aiming at the casual productivity market, and they're aiming at this expanding market. Well, Nintendo are aiming at gamers or casual gamers, and unless this can also do everything a tablet can do, it's not going to be able to expand into that market properly.
I'm looking through price things. Apparently, when the trailer went up, Tesco listed it or something.
Ooh.
As the Nintendo NX, and then got rid of it. For £349, so $400.
Ooh.
I've seen there's a lot of
price point.
There's a lot of interviews here. People saying they'll be surprised if it's under £300.
I mean, okay, it seems a bit too high, but it's not unreasonable.
That's way too for what's going to potentially be an underpowered console. When you look at the price of the PS4 and the Xbox One these days.
Yeah, but
that is not going to stack up favorably.
A lot of people saying $350 to $300 or $400 seems to be the dollar price.
No, point. But what's a PS4 and Xbox One these days? That's
like 300.
That's the same price.
Cheaper than that.
No, they're 300 now. Like the RRP is 300.
I would say a little
for the new variant.
250 for the new PS4.
Yeah,
really? 250.
Well, because they've just put out the PS Pro's coming out, so they've lowered it. The PS Pro is
in a world where a PS4 is 250. I think that's gonna struggle.
The PS Pro is 350.
Christ, PS Pro for the same blimey.
But again, they are aiming at different markets. But 350
yes,
is
Sony's
350
aiming at
is-
gamers, and Nintendo's aiming at magical space tablet
They are.
users that I don't know
They are.
exist.
And Nintendo, that price point is too high for that market. Like, you can justify that in a gaming market where people want this power. But frankly, I do think the Switch will be reasonably powerful. Obviously, it's not going to be as powerful as the PS4 Pro or the Scorpio, but I think it is going to be at least as capable as the current gen PS4 and the current gen Xbox. I think it's going to be at least able to match them for the most part.
I hope it is that expensive, because that means they're going to stay in the handheld market, and I'm chuffed with that. Because I'm really worried that they're going to put all the... I've said this before, that if they put their all eggs in the console, but because we knew it was going to sort of be this thing, we discussed it on previous podcasts, but I said that if they go all in on consoles, I think they're going to lose big time. So I'm happy that it looks like we'll still be getting consoles from Nintendo, handheld ones. Yeah. Anyway, that was that thing. Let's stop there, because we've gone on for 53 minutes on that.
Okay, so Red
John's
Dead
got 3
Redemption 2.
minutes left.
Who would like to masturbate first?
I will.
I've already masturbated 60
Okay,
times.
go ahead. I assume it's not going to take you long, so we will go after you.
Okay, it looks nice. It looks
nice.
Very nice. It's got a beautiful attention to detail that we were expecting. A lot more wildlife than I was expecting. I mean,
It feels Skyrim-y to me. Do you know, it's got a bit of a Skyrim-y feel.
I just got a flat GTA 5 feel. Because, I mean, the animals and stuff are in GTA 5. Or when GTA 5 came out, we were talking about how this is perfect setup for having loads more animals in Red Dead.
You know what the world looks like? Right, you see, the problem with Red Dead, at least Red Dead Redemption originally, was that you were riding around a wasteland, and you might see, like, a couple of horses occasionally, or maybe an armadillo would come out the thing, but it would be a wasteland. And obviously, based on GTA, they can render a lot of people and cars and all this shit at once, and that was kind of wasted on Red Dead. And if they can put that all into animals, like we saw all those bison next to a train, if they can do that consistently and make the world actually feel alive, full of animals, that would be incredible.
Yeah. I think they're gonna. I think it's because they've got nothing else. They've got there's hardly any buildings or anything to do. When you're in the wilderness with just a flat plain with a lot of grass around it, yeah, fuck it, throw 30 bison on the screen. Who gives a shit? We're not going to tank the PS4 there. The game looks... That's the difference. Like, GTA 5 is built up city madness, and there's always something very interesting on the horizon. Like, this is just flat plains a lot of the time.
I mean, there was that beautiful mountain with the river running through it in the forest. And
Yeah, I mean, they've got GTA 5 has proven that they can do this sort of thing and have all the animals. The animal interactions look super nice, like that, like bird or something getting eaten in the woods.
That was nice.
I got pissed off on Twitter because a lot of people were sort of going, "Oh, you don't trust it." No, sorry, we discussed this on the podcast.
They pretty much do this already in GTA 5.
No, okay. We discussed this on the podcasts and to live people yesterday, to VOD people tomorrow. We discussed this, saying that Rockstar have been consistent. They are consistently good with this sort of stuff. Yeah. They're not Ubisoft. They're not putting out a fucking trailer with overdone graphics, and it's not going to be anything like it. It's going to be probably very, very similar to that, if not the same.
Yeah.
You know, they are consistently trustworthy with this stuff. You know, someone mentioned...
Well, they've got the pedigree for it, is the thing. Is they've made Red Dead before. They've made these animals and that terrain and that grass. Like I saw a few people being disappointed there was no story or anything, but I'm like, that's really never what I remember from a GTA game. It's the world, and they just went, here's the world. Like that shot at night with the camp.
Yeah.
Ooh,
that's how I feel about Skyrim. I just occasionally play Skyrim just because I like wandering around and experiencing the atmosphere of it.
Yeah, and I
got that. Oh, I just want to wander around and experience this feeling from that trailer. It was perfect.
And that's what Red Dead always gave to me as well. It's just I was just a place to saunter around. I'd like to point out that the trailer they uploaded was in 1080p. The original GTA 5 trailer was only ever in 720p. Because I mean the game is only running in 720p, which means it will be running 1080p native most likely.
It did. I mean, it clearly did look like console footage.
Oh yeah. It's that. If they go, that's running on the PS4. I'd be like, yeah, no, that's running on the PS4. I totally believe that's running on the PS4.
And because you know the foliage does look a lot more detailed, but as you say, that's all the rendering.
Yeah.
And obviously that they've probably optimized the engine a lot more since GTA 5. They've had a few years.
Yeah. They've had for 5 years.
I loved there's a great shot of vultures eating a pecking on a dead animal
with the dog barking and the dog's footprints like splashing up mud as the dog stamps down. It's very nice.
if shit like that is actually sort of dynamic and kind of randomized,
that's the thing. Whether that was just set up.
Remember that Red Dead Redemption had those random events and stuff that would be happening everywhere all the time, because otherwise the world would get a bit barren. So I'm assuming having little extra bits like that is absolutely fine. And
I'm also hoping that some of Red Dead's amazing glitches return, like the terrifying centaur people. I want them back.
Yeah,
at the bare minimum, I want a little village of centaur people as an Easter egg.
Possibly. I'd like that.
Do you think, right, because obviously there's been rumours...
I mean, they had mythological creatures in the original, and I think in the DLC, because they had the Bigfoot, didn't they?
In GTA 5.
No, in
Red Dead, you hunted it down. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So as they've had mythological creatures, let's actually have canonical centaurs, thereby retroactively fixing that glitch and saying, no, it wasn't a glitch.
There's also unicorns and the 4 horses of the apocalypse.
There are the 4 horses. Well, technically, I mean, that is not really canon DLCs.
God only knows what isn't canon in Red Dead Redemption.
Semi-canon.
I mean, the main game is canon. It's canon in the GTA universe.
Yeah. So I assume the second bit will be as well.
Do you think, right, because obviously there are other rumours that 7 characters are going to be possibly switch between 7 characters.
I'm down with that. I'm
really
totally down with that.
I didn't like the switching between characters that much in GTA 5.
It's literally my favourite thing about GTA 5.
It broke up the relatively otherwise competent but fairly done before cover-based shooting.
You see, what games have is that a game is just a big brick where you follow one character. No other medium ever follows one character as religiously as games. You just don't have that. Game of Thrones isn't one dude. It doesn't just look at this one dude and it's just what this one dude did all day. Games don't have... games don't ever really switch playable characters, but switching up playable characters, having these different stories, telling different things, meant that it was one of the best paced games ever because of that. Switching between 7 characters, while possibly too many, I don't have any problem with whatsoever.
No, I agree with the switching, breaking up the monotony, but the problem is then I feel that you can't tell that interesting story for one of his characters. I don't feel Franklin, Michael, and Trevor, any of them on their own, have that interesting a story. While CJ in San Andreas had a great story.
I feel that they have a good... I'd say that they all individually have great stories. I like Trevor's love affair.
I think it's likely going to work out maybe a bit more like Mass Effect, where you're going to have one central character, then you're going to have a gang of 6 of whom you take a couple of people with you on a heist or a job or whatever, and then you pick who you want to be able to play as with bonus abilities. And you can choose whether you want to have the horse specialist or the sniper specialist or the Gatling gun specialist or whatever.
Here's an idea.
And then you've got a bit of personalisation, which would be nice.
What if, right, their new multiplayer experience they're talking about is that this gang of 7 people can be drop in, drop out multiplayer co-op?
I don't particularly care for that. Because then that means we can't really play as them. I see. Co-op gaming is kind of fun. I'm currently playing Saints Row the Third on Cube's channel.
But let's say. But
that's not what Red Dead is to me. I know Red Dead has online, but that's not what it is to me. Because Red Dead is me getting off my horse midway through the gallop and just having a walk because it's nighttime. And just enjoying the atmosphere and the sound that they built up for that game, because it's some of the best sound development. I'm so excited to see how far they can push the sound in that game.
Even the sound in the trailer was excellent.
Yeah, for me, it's a lights off, just go for a bit of a walk. It's an atmosphere game, Red Dead. All my favourite times in Red Dead have just been me in the atmosphere.
Yeah. No, that is even GTA.
I mean, with GTA, I focus on the story a little bit more, and I actually get through it. I mean, Red Dead, I didn't finish for years because I was just not finishing it, and I can't really remember much about the actual story.
But I think Rockstar, especially the modern titles, their world building and their atmosphere is so good in them that they are just games I will wander around in, doing nothing, enjoying the atmosphere and the graphical fidelity and the kind of just feeling of it all.
Has anyone here played Red Dead Revolver?
No, but now it's on the PS4, I've been meaning to.
I bought it on the Xbox like a year ago, intended to play it, and I never played it because I lost my Xbox. I found it in a box recently.
I've only played a very short amount of it. Maybe I'll do that because I need a complete series to fill in between Prison Architect and...
You did say that yesterday/tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about it. Might do it. Not sure. I needed just a little game. Oh God. No, never mind. I'd have thought that, and since I thought it went away, so it wasn't a good one.
Oh. Someone mentioned in the chat there that Red Dead Redemption is a good story, and this is another thing I sort of don't like, the sort of 7 character thing, and that John Marston's story was a really nice story.
Yeah.
And I feel you'd lose that if you're going to have multiple characters.
No? I don't think so. I think you just need to take the time to establish the characters. Which is what GTA
It was
did.
It down a bit, though.
No,
it
I
was
don't
it
think
down
so.
a bit. Those characters,
On a
they still have
shorter
good
game,
stories.
perhaps. But, like, I think the GTA 5, I knew how any character would react to any given situation, whereas I don't know that for Mario. I don't know what.
No,
I don't know how
agree.
Mario will react to anything apart from jump
I'm
on
not
everything.
saying
He's going to jump on top of it.
you
No,
say that's
hang
the
on,
thing.
no. I'm not saying they were bad.
Yes, he will, Matt. Come on, we've been doing this for 40 years. He's going to jump on top of things.
I'm not saying that the characters in GTA were badly written. They were excellently written. My point is that I think their story and their story arc wasn't as interesting as someone like John Marston or CJ.
I disagree.
Or even Nico.
I mean, the best story they ever told was Jimmy Hopkins. But I disagree. I think that they are fabulously well told stories because they intertwine at the right times or they're separate at the right times.
Plus, I think big gang stories can work fine. I think Mass Effect 2 works brilliantly as a big gang story where everyone has their own little story, but there's still one focus at the centre of Shepard.
I do agree with that, but again, I like the focus. With you have a focus on the character, and you make that character's story very strong, and you become very attached to that character. And I never felt that in GTA 5. I never really attached to any of the characters. I felt more like I was watching them as opposed to playing as them.
Well, I like that because that gave it the better paced story. And the thing is, right, with GTA, when I was playing as characters, I was playing as the character would be. So when I was Trevor, I was a lunatic. When I was Franklin, I drove a bit more. When I was Michael, I'd just occasionally burst into anger. And I'd go and see films and stuff and just be in LA with Michael. Like, I actually started role-playing the characters because I started to know the characters. And that wasn't intentional. That was just a thing that I was doing. And a lot of people have said that when playing as Trevor, they act more psychotic because the character gets in your head. So with an interesting cast of characters, they could totally do that thing. Plus, of course, then you could have one character who ends up being the antagonist, and you choose which side you want to take by just saying who you want to play as in the thing. I don't know. Maybe it'd be fun. I mean, I like the idea of the opening of the game being 7 different, really explosive Western stereotype shootouts, just to introduce all the characters and how they got. I mean,
I like the sort of idea of the sort of the Magnificent Seven, is it?
Yeah.
I feel like that would be much better. I feel like surely the first act of the game is going to be build the gang.
Yeah.
Where you're going to be introduced to various concepts by recruiting each person one by one, and thus each person gets their chapter to be introduced.
Okay, each character's got a specialist in one of the main 7 parts of the game that they then tutorialize.
Also, as far as we can tell, right, it is probably going to be the sort of the gang John Marston was in, because it's got to be a prequel. There's no way around that.
Well, there was only 1 year left of the Wild West at the end.
Yeah,
of it.
there's no way around that, time-wise. And from the kind of possible leaks we've seen of like maps and stuff, it seems to be sort of in the same-ish area.
No, it looks like it's from what I know of. It seems to be an entirely separate area that may connect at like one little place.
Well, yeah, I saw at least in the map I saw at the bottom left, it was Blackwater.
Yeah, I've seen a few maps that have been sort of like that. It seems to be only that's resounding with everyone.
Which I like, kind of that idea, because obviously Red Dead Redemption was very heavily, like half of the map was Mexico, and a lot of it was Wild West. While from the possible leaked maps, it's more sort of swampland, and it's a bit more sort of US and sort of open wasteland US.
It's got a lot of potential. I mean, especially from the story front. If they go, you're just playing as John Marston again, and this is his like the story of when he was a dickhead and he gradually learns to not be a dickhead. Then I'm like, yeah, totally down for it. If they go, this is 7 different people and you're switching between it, and it just loosely ties in like GTA 4 to 5. I'm like,
John Marston, he's got to turn up. He's got to turn up at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I can see John Marston getting on a ferry at the end of the game to go and go do a thing.
Oh, because that would be nice, wouldn't it? Tying the stories together in some way, but
yeah.
And then being like at the end of the game, like, bye, Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, then they released the PC version as you finish the game.
Do you think they'll release a remaster of Red Dead Redemption? Because if Red Dead Redemption 2 is a prequel, you think they will?
Well, they just re-released it for Xbox One, etc. But it wasn't a remaster; it was just a redo.
Yeah, but that was just a slightly more powerful version of what they already had. They've repeatedly said it can't be done because the code's too much.
Yeah, I think it's just it's a way of throwing money away. I think they've just taken all the money and gone, we'll just make Red Dead 2 better.
I mean, I feel like a remake on Steam of Red Dead Redemption would be such a large amount of money. If they could have done it, they would have already.
Yeah.
I don't believe they're just lying about that for no reason, because there's no reason to lie.
Especially if they're releasing Red Dead 2 as a prequel. They could make so much money from the audience playing that, going, hey, here's Red Dead 1, it's basically the same, but it's more story, and here it is remastered. They make loads of fucking money.
And it also kind of runs at 20 to 30 frames per second, but we're not going to tell you.
I'd like to say, actually, that if they released Red Dead 1 on PC, then they'd only be doing that after it came out on after 2 came out on PC, if 2 comes out on PC.
Yeah. I think 2's going to come out on PC.
I assume it would this time around.
I'd be amazed if it didn't.
Yeah, this is kind of I'm kind of just hoping they got first person mode.
When was the last time a Rockstar game didn't come out on Steam?
Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah. But that was quite a while ago.
2008?
I mean, the reasoning for Red Dead Redemption does seem to be development issues.
Yeah, and they've never hidden that away. They've always gone, yeah, no, we fucked that. Oh, 2010 was Red Dead Redemption. It was only 6 years ago.
So it isn't like...
God, there was only 2 years... When did GTA 5 come out? GTA 5?
I got someone angrily saying to me on Twitter...
Six years is a long time in gaming. But at that point, Nintendo was dominant in the console market.
Back in the day.
I know, long time in gaming.
Someone on Twitter complained to me, sort of, when I was saying about sort of it being like, oh no, GTA 5 only came on PC because they did a remaster. If they didn't do a remaster, they wouldn't have put it on PC. So, well, no, they just timed them at the same time. It wasn't really... You know, they
like money. Money's good.
Especially now, with the current architecture of the Xbox One and the PS4, it is a lot easier to port to a PC than it was.
Yeah.
It's a lot less development time.
Yeah. Did we say this in tomorrow's episode?
I think so.
I saw we had a discussion on this. We're looping back. This is actually a prequel.
It's like being an episode of Doctor Who.
One of Daleks.
yeah.
Oh, hang on. There's one downstairs.
But I am
in the Dalek room.
Very excited. Like, gaming-wise, I never get excited for games anymore. Ever. Aside from, I got very excited for GTA 5, I got very excited for Fallout 4. Nothing else.
Yeah. You kind of say it for the big fellas. Again, that's in tomorrow's episode. A lot of Twitch chat say that calling a full-on prequel part 2 is stupid. Yeah, Metal Gear Solid 3 vastly disagrees with you.
I mean, the name of this game is probably confusing, isn't it? Because you had Red Dead Revolver, which was the first Red Dead. Then you had Red Dead Redemption, which was the second Red Dead. Then you got Red Dead Redemption 2, which is the third Red Dead game, but it's a prequel to Red Dead Redemption, which is the second Red Dead.
It might just be other characters at a different time. I think that Red Dead isn't a franchise. Red Dead Redemption.
Red Dead Redemption. Yeah.
Well, hang on. We got a clear sight of a group of people riding by on horseback. Surely someone's zoomed and enhanced on that and figured out if any of those look like John Masters.
They've all got face masks on. Of course,
from the picture they posted on Twitter of the mall in the silhouette, none of them look like John Marston.
Well, yeah, but it's a very vague sort of picture. It's just a silhouette with no
I know, but like the build of them, I know, like John Marston is very kind of distinct.
Yeah, he's got that
silhouette.
Third nipple. None of them had a third nipple.
I mean, looking at, you can see the silhouette, but you can't kind of see the faces of them. Maybe John Marston could possibly be the guy on the left, but even so, he looks a bit more buff than John Marston.
But you feel like John Marston ought to be riding in the middle, don't you?
The middle guy doesn't look like John Marston. His face isn't John Marston's face. The guy to the right of him has a beard. The guy to the right of him.
Well, John Marston might have had a beard back in the day.
He might have had a beard and a hipster moustache when he was
young. He looks old, has a beard, and is grizzled. The other guys look different nationalities. The guy on the right is wearing a bowler hat and has a.
Are we certain that John Marston doesn't reverse age?
Yeah. Look, if anything, John Marston might be the guy on the very left, but otherwise he's none of the others.
Yep.
Remember, we're going to rob this old folks' home, and to do that, we're going to have to put on fake beards, fake makeup to look old.
Yeah. I think we should wrap this up now. That's a bit of a discussion-y thing about...
Given this is the second Podcats in 1 week.
This was just... It's impromptu because a lot of things happened.
Yeah, if NX, if they'd gone, we're doing that before we recorded the other one, we'd have delayed it, but we didn't, so there you go, you get an extra.
What are we going to talk about next week now? Someone just going to have to announce something
Hitman!
New. Yay!
Also, Logan trailer, how's it look? Looks pretty good.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2 looks okay. Oh my god, sorry. My latest tweet is that Donald Trump said he will totally accept the results of the presidential election if I win.
As long as he wins.
Marvelous.
Good, what a guy. Good. Yeah, I watched that last night. Worst thing. Don't.
Well, I don't.
Can we just say, early voting has started in the US, so if you're in the US, you might be allowed to vote right now. Just vote sensibly.
Yeah.
Vote responsibly. Okay. We're not going to tell you how to vote.
I am.
I am.
Okay, fine.
Don't vote for Stein. Don't vote for Johnson. Don't vote for Trump. Vote for Clinton.
But especially don't vote for Trump.
Yeah. Just bring on the dislike.
I've decided to put a whole bunch of money on Donald Trump winning, so then either way I win. My cunning plan. If Donald Trump wins, I'm like, oh fuck, but at least I'm a millionaire. Because the odds on Donald Trump winning now are so pathetic, I'm actually genuinely tempted to put a bet down and then be like, if Hillary wins, I'm like, yay, the world won't end. But if Donald Trump wins, I'm like, nah, at least I got some coin.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, just put it this way: if you vote for Trump, we won't get Red Dead Redemption 2 because you'll be living it. And on that note,
someone on Twitter said to me yesterday. He said, "Oh, only the strong survive and the weak should die." I was like, "What? Do you want to live in the fucking Wild West?"
You're on the internet. You're clearly the weak. Right.
Oh.
You're replying to Matt on Twitter. You are clearly not an alpha male.
Oh, that was.
Oh god. Right. That's the end of this thing. It actually we might put this up tonight. So go away, etc. Bye.
Good night,
Bye.
everyone. We'll see you for the podcast.
John's gonna drive away in his oil fire car.
It goes really fast
with
in
a
case it
pirate
explodes.
voice, just his little pirate voice, being a cowboy.
Yar.
Yar indeed. Goodbye.
Goodbye.